Hey, good evening. Welcome to Coaching for Coaches. I hope you're well. If you're here and you're watching live, let me know. Give me a yo in the chat to let me know that you're here. Yes, I have shaved my head. Let's deal with the elephant in the room. Historically, I've had a pattern of I don't know where I was going with that baldness. No, I've had a pattern of shaving my head over the years. And it's come to summer, and I saw Dwayne the Rock Johnson in a movie, who's my man crush, and I was reminded it's been a while since I shaved my head, so I thought I'd do it for summer. So yeah, there you go. Let's that's that out of the way. So yeah, give me a yo if you're here. Let me know that you're on, so that I know that you're watching live, and if you're watching on the replay, give me a yo as well, or give me a hashtag replay. That's what the cool kids on Instagram do. So today we're going to talk about fear and dealing with fear in your coaching business. I had a question come in from one of our academy members. Our academy is a program, a mastermind, where you have me as your coach, your guide, your mentor to help you get in clients and making sure that you've got the right mindset. Every coach needs a coach, obviously. And so in this video, I'm going to kind of answer in basically give you my answer that I said to my client who said, Miles, I'm feeling really afraid. I'm feeling afraid that this isn't going to work. I'm feeling really afraid that coaching isn't for me. I'm feeling really afraid that I made the wrong decision. I'm feeling really afraid that I'm not going to get clients and that this is just not going to work. And what I want to do is kind of speak to that and give you my kind of distinctions that I've learned around fear. I remember a few years ago, Mrs. Grant bought me a bungee jump for my birthday. Never done it before, and I was obviously quite scared. I didn't show that I was scared to her outwardly. My ego protected me from that, but I was pretty scared. And I remember when I got there, and there's loads of other people doing the jump, and it's anticipating, and I'm kind of getting a little bit sweaty palms. I'm getting a bit scared, and I remember there was somebody at the top. So basically, what they do is they kind of hoist you up in this cage if you've never done a bungee jump, and this one girl had gone up, and I thought I was scared, but she looked more scared than I did, and she went up, and then when they get to the top, you can see there's this conversation sort of happening up there, and then they open the gate, and from the ones I'd seen before, a few seconds go by, and the person will jump, and it's done, right? And then you hear them celebrating because they've overcome that fear. This particular girl did not jump when the gate opened. She stayed there for ages, seemed like forever, and eventually she did jump. But before she jumped, I remember being at the bottom, and I remember my fear kind of went away, and instead I was just really just feeling her fear, and really kind of hoping that she would overcome her fear and she would jump, and she did. But I remember when she was up there, stood on that edge, not jumping, and the guys trying to coach her to make the jump. There was a guy at the bottom who kind of was kind of the ground team, right, if you want to call him that. And I remember saying to him, I said, what's your best advice when someone goes up there for the first time, as I'm going to do in a minute? I said, what's your best advice when they go up? And he said, well, my best advice is, and obviously I'd love to say that he said it in a really eloquent way, but he basically said, when my colleague opens, let's pretend his name's Steve. He said, when Steve opens the gate, that's a sign that you can stand on the edge and you can just go. Right. So what they do is they get us on the edge, ready. They open the gate, they give you a nod, and the nod is a clue to say you're safe to go. No more talking. No, you can do it and all that kind of stuff. It's just gate opens, nod, go. He said, so my best advice is when he opens the gate and he nods at you, don't wait, just go. And isn't that true with anything in life that we're afraid of? Is that sometimes we often wait that kind of delay time, which we think is going to help us but invariably that the longer we delay, the harder it feels. A key thing I've learned about fear is, you see, the brain is effectively like a 2 million-year-old computer. The brain that we have today is the same brain from prehistoric caveman times. Hasn't changed, it hasn't evolved. It's exactly the same. Like, the brain is exactly the same from caveman days. Now, in caveman days, the only real things that they had to be afraid of was whether they would get killed by a wild animal when they're out maybe looking for or hunting. Like, they're either going to kill the lion or whatever it was, or be killed by it, or some other dangerous animal, right? So I believe that when it comes to growing your coaching business, one of the first things that we've got to recognize is that there's effectively two types of fear. There's rational fear and there's irrational fear. So you see, I believe that, if you're out in, I don't know, if you're let's bring it to real world today. If you're in a zoo and a lion has broken out of a paddock or whatever you call it, it's a very, very rational fear to be afraid. And the brain is designed, fight or flight is designed to either fight the lion or run away, right? I suggest running away if you're in that situation. If you're on a main road and you're going to cross, but then some joyrider comes flying up the road, your brain is wired to pull you back away from the road. Take Sage, for example. Sage, the other day, she went to fall, she tripped, and she put her hands down. She's only 2.5, but she put her hands down. So she already knew that, her brain knew that she was in danger. So her brain told her hands to put themselves down so that she wouldn't hit her face on the ground. So the brain is designed to keep us from hurting ourselves. So fear like that is very rational. Here's the problem. Our brain is unable to notice the difference between a lion in the jungle and doing a Facebook Live or inviting a person to a coaching conversation with you. You see, one of our biggest fears in life is that we will be not enough and that we'll be rejected, because we grow up as babies and we're significant and we're everything, and then we become adults and we're not everything anymore because everybody else is feeling the same way. Everybody else is like, hang on, I was a child once and I was stared at, cooed at, and now I don't have that anymore. Why has that gone away? So we all have that feeling of that we're not enough and that we won't be loved and that we'll be rejected. But that is an irrational fear, and the reason it's irrational is because no physical harm can come from that. And the problem is the invisible, is the mental harm that can come from needing approval and validation and all that kind of stuff, right? That's a different conversation for another day. But the fact is, we need to recognize that getting no's when you invite people to your coaching calls is a very different form of fear than maybe getting run over by a car or getting killed by a lion. So really important to first start by talking about that, fear is in two parts: rational and irrational. Doing Facebook Lives, inviting people to coaching calls, worrying whether people will accept you or reject you is irrational. And so what I really want to speak to you today is how to overcome irrational fear. Fear is never going to go away. Let's make this explicitly clear. Fear is not going to go away. It shouldn't go away. Otherwise, if you were in a dangerous situation, you wouldn't do anything and you'd probably die, right? So fear is not going to go away, and it's not meant to. I want to speak to the irrational fear now that we've established that there's two types. I want to speak to that. I believe when it comes to growing your coaching business, there's 3 things that you can do to help you to deal with and face fear, your irrational fears, head on. The first thing that you want to do is what I call expand your threshold of fear. Usually I have little post-it notes that I write these down. So you maybe want to grab a notepad if you haven't already, so you can write these things down. So first thing you want to do is you want to expand your threshold of fear. So what does that mean? What that means is if you think about, people talk about your comfort zone and how the life of your dreams starts on the outside of your comfort zone. You might have heard that cliche before. Well, I believe that the courage to face our irrational fears starts by expanding our threshold of fear. So, for example, me doing a bungee jump, I was scared, but that fear was irrational. And the reason why it was irrational and not rational is because if it were rational, it wouldn't be a safe thing that thousands of people do every single day. Same with skydiving, same with any extreme sport. There wouldn't be people still doing that if it was a rational fear. Going on an aeroplane, think about it, going in this giant thousands of tons thing, trusting that it will take you up in the air, thousands of miles away and land safely. If you look at the statistics on airplane travel and how safe it is, I believe, and I've read this somewhere and I don't know the statistic, but I believe that it's safer to be in an airplane than it is to be in a car. Like, I believe there's more road accidents than there are airplane accidents. So why is the people that have a fear of flying? Because they've rationalized that fear. Maybe they did have a bad flight once, but either way, they've rationalized the fear. So what we've got to do is we've got to expand our threshold of fear. And for me, there's a few ways to do that. One of the ways to do it is to think about something that you're afraid of that is safe, but it is irrational, and do that. So maybe for you, a rational fear would be going live on Facebook. Maybe that will be a rational fear for you. Maybe doing a bungee jump for you would be a rational fear, like, oh my God, sorry, an irrational fear, forgive me. So doing a Facebook Live, doing a bungee jump, doing a skydive, statistically, no physical harm is going to happen. It's highly unlikely, especially with Facebook Live. But even the statistics on bungee jumping and skydive would suggest that you're safe. Otherwise, people wouldn't still be doing it. So what you want to do is you want to almost see fear as a muscle, all right? And you want to intentionally move towards things that scare you. So, for example, you might go, a skydive would scare you. Like, if the idea of a skydive right now really scares you, then that's probably exactly the thing that you should consider doing. Because on the other side of a skydive, anyone I've ever known who's done one, like me with the bungee jump, will tell you on the other side of it, the emotions aren't fear. They're like joy, jubilation, ecstasy, like incredible high level positive emotions by pretty much everybody that ever does that. I remember a few years ago doing a fire walk with Tony Robbins at his Unleash the Power Within event. I've done several of them now. And I remember the first fire walk, petrified as we're all lined up, 10,000 of us, to walk across burning hot coals. And I remember getting to the other side and my feet weren't burnt and it was just jubilation. And I remember then crewing the event and seeing other people go through that process as well. So whatever it is that springs to your mind as something that you're massively afraid of, but you know is safe. All right, please, I'm not in any way telling you to do something that is unsafe. But something that is considered safe, like a skydive, like a bungee jump, like abseiling, like canoeing on a lake, something that you would be scared of. The first thing I recommend you do is to expand your threshold of fear. Pick something and commit to doing it, book it, put it in your diary, tell your friends you're going to do it, ask them to do it with you. Get something in your diary that you're committed to doing. That will expand your threshold of fear, which will therefore make you feel more confident in your ability to translate that fear across to other areas of your life, especially your coaching business. The second thing that I think is really important to help you with overcoming and dealing with fear, I actually I'm pinching this from a good friend of mine by the name of Rich Litvin. Hi, Rich, if you're watching. If you've not read Rich's book, him and Steve Chandler's book, it's called The Prosperous Coach. It's a phenomenal book. But Rich talks about, I learned this from him, and he's an incredible coach, and it's called the no game. So the no game, and this kind of takes me back when I first heard about this to my days in fitness, specifically when I used to run a call center. And invariably, the best people in the call center, the best salespeople in the call center, were the ones that had the highest amount of no's. And the reason why is because telemarketing, like growing a coaching business, is a numbers game. So the telemarketers worked out, for example, Ryan Barber, who I can remember. Ryan, if you're watching, hey brother. I remember Ryan was always a top producer in our office, like always like within the top 1 or 2 telemarketers. And I remember saying to him, how is it that you're always consistently in the top? And he said, I'm just desensitized to the no. I went, wow, like, what does that mean? He said, well, I've had so many no's now, I'm desensitized to them. I've just become immune to no. And that reminds me of a famous quote by Michael Jordan, which says something like, I've missed 3,000 shots, and then there's other stats that follow. And that's why I've been the best in the game, because he's missed so many. Because for every time you miss, and you miss again, and you miss again, and you miss again, there will be a basket. For every time Ryan got a no, and then another no, and another no, and another no, he became desensitized to the no, which meant that he was not fearful of no. It meant that he wasn't worried about the no. It meant that he gave off an energy of not caring, not like he didn't care about the person, but he didn't care about their validation or their approval of him, which meant that he could truly serve in his heart because he wasn't attached to whether they would accept or validate or not. And you see, most coaches in the very beginning, the problem is, number one, they're not taking enough shots. Okay. And number two, they have so much energy of the negative variety to the no and to being rejected, rather than what they should be focused on, which is that if they're here to do it to truly make a difference, they need to be focused on service. They need to be focused on contribution and not on whether they'll be significant, whether they'll be the one. So how I grew my coaching business in the very beginning was playing the no game. Like, how many no's could I get? I remember one particular gym who didn't reply to me, many different forms of messages, and then eventually got on the phone with him, and he was about to tell me no, but then we established such a great level of rapport. He said yes, and then we had a call, and then it turned into a program. But the point I'm making here is most rookie coaches are looking for yeses when they should be looking for nos, because for every number of no's that Ryan got, there was a yes. And the reason why he was a top producer was because he got the most no's. The reason why Michael Jordan became the best basketball player is because he missed the most shots. But you only become the best at coaching if you take more shots. So the biggest lesson I want to leave you with here today is you need to take more shots. And then the last thing I want to share you with, which is really against the grain of what I shared with you so far, third thing that I want to share with you that's really, really crucial to overcoming your feeling of fear and dealing with fear is what I call appreciation logging. Appreciation logging ultimately means every single day writing down what you're appreciative about. There's an overriding question that I think about every single day. It's on a board at home. And this question helps me to appreciate this great life that I have in terms of just being here and being alive in this moment, recording this video. Sometimes we get in the details of life's not the way we want, and we haven't got this amount of clients and all this kind of stuff, and it's easy to forget. And appreciating logging really is about writing down what's great about this. This question on my wall downstairs in the kitchen says, what's great about this? Anytime I'm going through a tough moment, I'm going through therapy at the moment because there's some old emotions, some old behavior patterns that have come up for me that I'm dealing with. And every time I finish and anytime I have a dip in mood or an emotional low, I go, what's great about this? What's great about it is you're facing it.